911. There's a fire in Colorado, started by Nolan Arenado. He's 5 for 5 with 3 home runs and 7 RBIs in the 7th inning, people. 21 homers for the year.
Slacker.
Man, give us some of that. We need this. What's good? Welcome to the best 60 minutes of your day. Coming up, bad news potentially for Phillip Rivers and the Chargers, but perhaps good news, or at least under the circumstances, the best news one could hope for if you are a Dallas Cowboy fan, Jemele.
That is right. This sort of just in. Dallas police have suspended their investigation into Sunday's altercation allegedly involving Ezekiel Elliott due to an inability to contact the victim, who reportedly provided an old address and incorrect phone number. This, of course, does not mean that the NFL's own investigation into a domestic violence accusation against Elliott is ending. Right. Now, we talked about this, obviously, because it's been in the news. Your position was, well, we don't have all the facts.
Right.
Well, it looks like we still don't have any of the facts, and it looks like things have stopped here. So does that mean, okay, we're good now? Let's just
we may not get all the facts from a police
away.
Perspective, a police investigation perspective, but as we know, the NFL is not beholden to law enforcement and what law enforcement does or does not do. It certainly helps Ezekiel Elliott from the standpoint that he doesn't have an arrest or a prosecution or a charge or what have you on his rap sheet, if you will. I'll put rap sheet in quotes because he's never been officially arrested or charged with anything. But the NFL can still look into this, and if they decide to assess a cumulative personal conduct suspension with just all the different things that have popped up, they can include this incident if they were to find more than the witnesses were willing to provide to police. If they were to find more in their own investigation, and again, NFL investigation, such a tricky thing to assign credibility to, but if they were to assign more, or find more, it doesn't mean he's out of the woods yet. But I go back to what I was saying from the beginning, and I'm glad I did, and you did as well, in fairness, is that to jump to conclusions and say, okay, here Zeke goes again, getting into trouble. We didn't know what happened then, and right now it seems like he's dodged this situation from a legal standpoint.
Well, let's hope that this is yet another teachable moment for Ezekiel Elliott. And that was...
You can learn the easy way or the hard way.
Correct. And if nothing comes of this, and again, like you said, at least legally, he can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief. But let this be another lesson to him that you need to lower your profile, all right? I mean, I know people know who you are, but you need to limit your visibility at this point.
So don't go out?
No, I'm not saying that, but when you go out, you have to be really careful about where you go and who you surround yourself with, because you're at a vulnerable point. As you mentioned, the NFL is already looking into you. And so you don't want to give, or you just don't want to give them any more reason to continue to stay on your head.
Your advice is sound in general when it comes to a high-profile professional athlete, especially in Dallas. But we do something that bothers me, and we want it both ways. It's like whenever a guy gets off, from a situation and he's not charged or he avoids, any kind of legal trouble for it, we say, well, it doesn't mean he's not guilty. It just means he wasn't charged or convicted of said crime. So in this situation, the advice you're giving, while generally sound, it rubs me the wrong way a little bit, to be honest with you, because what if he didn't do anything? Like, this might not be a situation where the witness just wouldn't cooperate, or this was protecting a Dallas Cowboy or whatever it was. Maybe he actually didn't do anything that would warrant him keeping this lower profile.
Well, again, this goes back to the other investigation as well.
Which he may not have done anything there.
Right, but the whole point is he's being investigated. Somebody is checking behind to see what are you doing and what are your activities. So all I'm saying is this. Look, I hear you, Mike, and I wasn't convicting him of it already. What I am saying is that, and Jerry Jones talked about this yesterday, with this fame comes a lot of responsibility. And the unfair part of fame is when you have everything to lose, that people will try you. People will say things to you. People will come at you.
100%.
And they could be all in the
we
wrong.
Both know it.
But when the headline is done, it's going to say Ezekiel Elliott, not the other person.
100%. And before we move on, I'll just say this. I agree and appreciate everything you're saying, and it's right. But you're talking about fame. I'm also talking about fairness. And that's something we got to practice in general, too, because everything we're talking about what he needs to do and how much he needs to change is not just restricted to you're a Dallas Cowboy and everybody's watching you. It's coming from a place of a presumption that he has put himself in difficult circumstances. Now, aside from the St. Patrick's Day situation, we don't know that he did anything when it comes to the domestic violence situation. We don't know that he did anything in this bar. So those two things, how can you say, you know what, man, you need to change how you live in your life
just chill.
If we don't know that he did anything, but we don't know that he did anything that he needs to chill from?
Right. I didn't say chill forever, but right now you're being investigated. Right. Just lay low. That's it. Not hard to do.
We're blowing up the rest of the show. I think we got to move on.
Blake Griffin and the Clippers had a press conference today for no other reason than to say, hey, we gave this guy a 5-year, $173 million deal because of money. And with Chris Paul in Houston, the Clippers are now officially the Blake Griffin show.
Is this your team now? And if you believe it is there added responsibilities that come with that?
That's never really been a concern of mine. I think that's something that on the outside you hear, but within the team, I don't think I've ever heard a guy say, hey, man, whose team do you think this is? You know, it's just not how it is.
Well, I tell you how it is in L.A. now, and this is no disrespect to Blake Griffin. It is his team. He is the headliner now. I mean, that was gracious what he said, but he's the big name. He's on the marquee. Well, the Clippers, unfortunately, your time as being relevant is up. It is up. Because I know we'll talk about them.
I know some disrespect was coming when you said no disrespect.
Well, it is. And look, they made a lot of, what was the word you used? Interesting moves. They have some interesting players.
The best of a bad situation.
They did. But with that other team in L.A. now, Blake Griffin, it's just, this is why I made it so sad that window that he and Chris Paul had, that they were never able to fully capitalize, be it because of their own doing or because of the fact that it was just injuries and things happen. Because now he will, while he may be the king of this team, he may be the big name of this team, and that town now is shifted in the complete other direction.
So you could argue whether or not it was ever a Clippers town, even when the Lakers were down and the Clippers were ostensibly contending. You could argue whether it was ever truly a Clippers town. But to say they're irrelevant, that's harsh, that's extreme. It's a bit of a hot take right there. Irrelevant? Look, in the Western Conference, they may not be a playoff team, even though they have some nice pieces that they acquired throughout free agency and the offseason through trades. But irrelevant. A team with Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, an all-NBA center, and I get, we'll see how many lobs he's able to catch it off CP3, with some interesting, there's that word again, veterans that they got from the Rockets, with Jerry West running the show, with Steve Ballmer on the sideline, and Doc Rivers coaching can never be irrelevant. They're more interesting now than they were before because, what did they do?
Wait. They're more interesting now than they were before?
Because you kind of knew how it was going to end lately, at least with this team.
That doesn't make any sense.
Wait a second. No, from this standpoint, because you knew that you said this. You wanted to break it up. You wanted to break it up because
after they appeared to hit a ceiling.
But you knew they had a ceiling. How long have you known they had the ceiling?
Well, I felt like
a couple of years,
a couple seasons, right?
A lot of people.
But when they got together, I said, "Ooh, okay, this is spicy."
But a lot of people felt like this team the Warriors and other teams in the West had separated themselves, and the Clippers were long fooling themselves. What I'm saying is, you have Chris Paul saying, I need to go to greener pastures in order to win. Basically saying what I left behind, as you pointed out, was not good enough for me to contend. They're interesting and intriguing from the standpoint of, wait a second, nobody's expecting much from this team. Doc Rivers has all kind of rumors about him and his son.
Nobody ever expects much from the Clippers.
Right, and look at what they put together, the
so
people that they've
assembled.
So
they're back to what they used to be.
Okay,
they're not as bad.
Agree to disagree.
I'm not saying they're, Blake Griffin is not chopped.
You're not hearing me.
He's not chopped.
You're listening, but you're not hearing me.
He's a really good player.
I can hear Jimmy.
I like Patrick Beverley, the fact that he's bringing some edge and some spice to it.
There's still a story.
Okay.
Kyrie and Melo, one hell of a pickup pair, and I'd say. This was at UCLA, but Cavs fans would love it if Uncle Drew would dish in dimes to his Team USA teammate Melo at the Q. Houston still seems to be the, relatively speaking, more realistic option. But the harsh reality is that for Melo, he may remain a Knicks, something in which he has no interest, or so says Woj. Could the Knicks really bring him back to camp?
Well, there's common sense, and then there's the way that the Knicks do things. But look, here's the thing. The Knicks, at this point, they kind of have no choice but to see this through. I don't think that they want – we know they don't want to buy him out. They've said that and made that clear. They owe Melo a little bit too much money. And this is where Phil Jackson, among the many ways he jammed them, when he tanked Melo's trade value with his hot takes about Melo in the media. Then now, if you're them, and I realize that you need to hit the reset button, as they probably should have done years ago. But now, if you're them, like, what would be acceptable in terms of what could they take to get him? Like, you can't just dangle him out there and just hope for anything. Like, they have to hold on to him at this point. And look, maybe they're thinking, and maybe this is being naive. They have Scott Perry in there, Steve Mills has been there, but maybe they're thinking this new influx of blood that Melo might warm up to it. And they might be able to say, hey, that was Phil who thought that of you. We think a little differently.
Yeah, look, I told you before, the no trade clause, it's a blessing and it's a burden because he can control where he can go, but he can also control where he can go. And if he's not going to open himself up to other destinations, the Knicks, no matter what the previous regime did, and by regime I mean Phil, obviously it was organizational, no matter how much they may have ostracized Carmelo, if it doesn't make them better, they're under no obligation to move him just because he's made up his mind that he is no longer a Knick and he is a Rocket. They have to do what is best for them. And if it means bringing him back, while it'll be a circus, that's also called any day that ends in Y in New York when it comes to bringing him back. And you know what Melo's going to do? Play and play hard.
Yeah.
Because he's been unhappy, at least for the organizational direction for a while, and yet he's still shown up and been a professional. He likes the city. Look, Lala said on Breakfast Club this morning she's not moving. So obviously his son's still there. So he'll find a way to do his job if he's forced to go back. Interesting note cross today. According to the Oregonian, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum have both reached out to Melo to try to convince him to come to Portland. You know they've been doing the Instagram,
with the jerseys?
Yeah. The Instagram pictures with him and Brandon Roy's old number 7. I told you, if I'm Melo and I'm seeing how difficult it is to get the Knicks or anybody else to take Ryan Anderson's contract from Houston, and Cleveland has no leadership right now to be able to pull off this deal, I'm looking at Portland and saying, if I can get there with that backcourt and that big man, that could be an interesting team in the West. Maybe not top 2 in the West, but a contending team. At least I can play more meaningful basketball than summer pickup games with Kyrie.
And that's a fair and reasonable point, but Melo has always struck me as somebody that once he's locked into something, he's locked into it. And he wants Houston, and I think he'd be willing to just stay in New York and be closer to his son or be close to his son as opposed to going somewhere else like Portland. And he wants a big market, too.
Yeah.
So, the Cavs may not be at Knicks level dysfunction, but this summer hasn't been great for them. LeBron is reportedly frustrated by the Cavs' lack of progress in building a team that's better equipped to beat the Warriors. Now, owner Dan Gilbert also supposedly fired GM David Griffin as he was negotiating a Jimmy Butler trade. Kyrie, what's the word you would call this?
I understand we're in a very peculiar place. We just have to, make sure that all our pieces are aligned first, and, then we go from there. It's the summertime, a lot of craziness going on in the NBA, so, best to just observe and then see what happens, but obviously there are some things that I'm pretty sure our organization wants to do, and we'll go from there.
Peculiar, huh? Is that the right word to describe?
Pathetic.
Okay, a different P word.
Putrid. Poor. Another kind of poor that I would say if I weren't on a family, show right now. How badly do you have to have managed the LeBron situation? You got to appreciate what an explosive element this LeBron situation is, okay? How badly do you have mismanaged it to where a Lakers team on the come up, a lot of excitement, but with a rookie and a bunch of young pieces, is actually a viable alternative to the 3-time defending Eastern Conference champion, where there's so much smoke around LeBron James to where there's got to be some fire when it comes to this LA thing. That's a more difficult path to the finals. Even if you like Lonzo Ball and how unselfish he is, and you like the young pieces, and you like the cap room, and you like the direction of the franchise, for you to be willing to leave home again and leave Kyrie and Kevin Love, a proven winner from the Eastern Conference, to go there, shows you how bad of an offseason they've had when you're talking about, okay, we're just going to stand pat. We're going to lowball the GM replacement that we wanted after not retaining the GM that we had that helped us get here. We're going to lowball Chauncey Billups and just sit back and watch while everybody and their mama gets better. And we're just going to say, oh, no, we're good. We're good. Let the Celtics catch up at Eastern Conference. Let the rest of the West get stronger. We're good.
This doesn't make me
make sense.
This doesn't make me feel good to do. But can I provide a small defense for Dan Gilbert and
be my guest.
Cavs management? Again, I find no joy or pleasure in doing this. Part of the reason why they are in kind of a cap hell and why there's not a whole lot of moves they could make because they decided to overpay. certain role players, in which LeBron publicly supported them paying them.
Well, how do you know there's not a lot of moves they can make? Because by all accounts, they were working on the Jimmy Butler and Paul George trade right before he let go to general manager.
Working on. We don't know how close it was, but when you look at their situation in terms of what they can do, Mike, they don't have a lot of options.
Neither did Sam Presti. Sam Presti, on the surface, nobody said, oh, he going to flip Victor Oladipo and the Sabonis kid for Paul George.
And you also
when you're LeBron, you're looking at when you look at LeBron, you're looking at what went for Jimmy Butler and Paul George.
But to be fair, what interest would the Pacers have in helping the Cavs? Like, a lot of these teams, they're not trying to help the Cavs win a title.
Teams are going to do also what's best for their teams.
Right.
And if Kevin Love,
and they don't have any draft picks.
Kevin Love,
nobody wants Kevin Love's contract.
Somebody might have wanted him. Everybody. So you mean to tell me all these teams that shock us throughout this offseason, like Houston, finding a way to get deals done? We mentioned Minnesota. We mentioned OKC. You're LeBron. You're supposed to sit back and say, well, you know what? We couldn't do much of anything. So it doesn't matter that we don't have a general manager in July.
Well, that was obviously their biggest misstep.
What's the craziest story? The Panthers firing their general manager and replacing him in July, or the Cavaliers still not having a general manager in July for LeBron James? Probably the latter. I'm sorry. I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at Dan Gilbert. Mike Williams, the Chargers' first-round pick, might need surgery on his herniated disc that would end his rookie season, league sources told Adam Schefter. Initially diagnosed with the injury after his first practice during rookie minicamp, has not practiced since. The 7th overall pick out of Clemson, Williams has shown some encouraging signs after receiving a second epidural on his disc in a last-ditch effort to have him ready at some time during training camp, though the Chargers are preparing as if he will not be ready for the start of camp, sources told.
Were you sad, Mike? Because I know how you feel about Phillip Rivers.
I know how you feel about Phillip Rivers.
I like Phillip Rivers.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't recall you saying many kind things over the years about Phillip Rivers.
I've not said anything bad about Phillip Rivers.
Not him as a person, but him as a quarterback. I know how most people feel about Phillip Rivers.
He's a really enlightening cat. I dig him.
I'm digging talking to you.
Right.
No, but most people feel he's overrated.
Mm-hmm.
He's an underachiever. He just puts up a lot of great numbers and never won anything. And I look at a guy who I have love since he was slinging that thing sidearm with a visor coming out of NC State. I look at a guy who is as star-crossed and snake-bitten a quarterback as we've seen in modern times. Hopefully, if we have time, if I don't ramble anymore, we will have time to talk about Mike Sando's panel with the top 10 quarterbacks in the modern era. Phillip Rivers is going to go down with some of the best passing numbers in NFL history. And he hadn't been to the playoffs in about 4 or 5 years or something like that.
No, it seems crazy to believe.
But look at the people he's had to hand off to, the people who blocked for him, the receivers he's had to throw to that he's made look better than they actually are. Every year, some key player, and Mike Williams was counting on to compliment him. Keenan Allen also coming back from injury. Keenan Allen, that wide receiver. Every year, somebody gets hurt for Phillip Rivers. It's just a shame.
Well, with Mike Williams in particular, and I agree with everything you said. It is somebody who is as talented as him. It is kind of, I wouldn't use the word heartbreaking, but it is kind of disappointing that they haven't been more of a postseason factor lately. The interesting thing that seems to be about this Mike Williams situation is the fact that this might have been an injury that he sustained either at the combine or during his pro day workout, which I thought the whole point of the combine was that you were supposed to, kind of do your due diligence. Same thing with pro day as well. So if that's the case and he was able to mask it, it's kind of.
So you're adding Chargers mismanagement to the list of things I just put down
Well, we've seen some of that as well.
We've seen some special teams blunders. It's just, if it ain't one thing, it's another in L.A. I hope I didn't say San Diego Chargers. It's still.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't know. You might have. So a couple days ago, the truth, Paul Pierce officially retired as a member of the Celtics. Well, today, one of the newest Celtics explained how important Paul Pierce has been to him.
I mean, how could I be upset about going to the Boston Celtics? Paul Pierce always been my favorite player. Reached out to him, see if I can get some work in with him. So, how can I ever, have a bad thought about it?
See,
that?
Yeah, that was a big compliment. You haven't been out the league that long, and already they're treating you like an elder.
Well, I've been an elder for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I've been in the league 19 years. A lot of these guys saw me play coming up. And plus, he's a Kansas guy. I keep up with all my Kansas guys, the Morris brothers, followed them along with Wiggins, a number of guys that's in the league right now that went to my alma mater.
So I'm not surprised that you were petty enough to wear net shorts when you signed, because we played cards with you, so we know that you cheat and you petty.
You ain't Rondo.
No, that may be Rondo, not me.
Yeah, but what was up with that? Why'd you decide to troll Danny Ainge like that?
Just to remind him. You sent me. I should have not had to leave Boston, but I came back. I wanted to always retire Boston Celtics. Something that I said years ago, far before I ever got traded. So I just was trolling Danny.
No, your fingerprints, like in Morris is the latest, your fingerprints are all over this franchise. They're still reaping the benefits from that trade. So if they ever win a ring as a result of all these picks, you should get another ring from
one of the fastest rebuilds, I guess, when you talk about a team that come from title contention to winning the Eastern Conference, 4-6 years later, especially when you start to rebuild. The turnaround was pretty quick. You don't really see that in basketball too often.
That's fast forward in the process right there.
Definitely.
However, when we talked to you, I think around the lottery, you were like, trade the pick. Now, they ended up trading down with Philly, but you wanted them to trade for a veteran player. Jason Tatum reminding a lot of people of you, albeit in Summer League. Do you still feel like they should have traded the pick, or now that they've gotten Tatum and Gordon Hayward, you feel like they're in a better position they would have been had they traded?
Well, they was able to accumulate more assets with trading the pick. You got Tatum, you got another draft pick possibly coming the following year. You added Gordon. So I think they did well. Danny Ainge is really doing a great job at really micromanaging the situation, not really getting over his head, pulling crazy moves off because people are saying, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so, he's done a great job. And I like where they at. I like the kid Tatum. He really looked good.
Do you see yourself in him?
I see a lot of offensive potential. You see a lot of these guys.
Not you. Okay.
Right, he didn't say myself.
I see a lot of offensive potential.
You see a lot of these guys come in and they get compared to past former greats, to Kobe Bryant, to, the past Shaq or whoever. But, the difference that separates guys of the past is the mentality they brought to the game. You can say, oh, he plays like Kobe. Oh, he plays like Paul. He has the footwork, the jumper. But, people don't understand it's the mentality we carry. The toughness, the grit that we brought, that killer instinct. Those are the traits that you can't just install into a player. But they can have all the tools. It's just he has the tools, though. If he can develop that grit, that toughness, the sky's the limit for him.
Speaking of comparisons, D. Wade, he tweeted that this year's draft class could be as special as the class of 03. Too much pressure.
I don't know about that.
They all look good in Summer League.
Everybody looks good in Summer League, but let's not get past ourselves. When we
that was a hot take right there.
In that draft, we saw LeBron. You had hundreds of NBA players flying out to see his high school game. They were saying this kid was good enough to play in the All-Star game as a senior in high school. I mean, we didn't have this type of hype around anybody in this draft. You saw Melo as a freshman win a national championship. Yeah. You saw Dwayne put on a special performance in the NCAA tournament. So
that class didn't have LeVar Ball.
Nothing to take away from LeVar Ball. He's a product of his father's marketing genius. Not to say he can't play. He can play.
Because I would say that sounded like shade.
More people know more about LeVar than any of the draft picks. Nobody's talking about Dennis Smith Jr., who, in my eyes, is probably going to be Rookie of the Year.
That's your favorite one?
That's my pick for Rookie of the Year. Markelle Fultz haven't had a chance to prove himself, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just see, but the potential is definitely there.
So when Magic says, there could be more triple-doubles in Lonzo Ball's future. Yeah, triple-doubles in Summer League, you get triple-doubles in regular season. That simple?
No, Summer League doesn't translate to NBA player. A bunch of these guys will never see an NBA training camp and will probably never even see going overseas.
But on the other side of it, if Lonzo has struggled, people would be on his head if any of them did.
Everything he needed to do that you wanted to see from a number 2 pick. You just wanted to see him go out there, be solid, get better over the time of Summer League, get comfortable in the system, and be ready for the season.
Yeah, one person who definitely was checking out Summer League was LeBron James. He checked out, I think it was Lonzo Ball, one of his games. Right. Now, Kyrie Irving, he called the Cavs summer peculiar, all right, given that what happened with David Griffin.
Shout out to Marvin Gaye.
The fact that the Cavs haven't made any moves really that seem to have brought them any closer to the Warriors. You kind of agree with Kyrie's assessment there?
They've done all that they can do. This team was built to win a championship. They created their big 3. Now, Kevin Durant just raised the bar. Mm-hmm. Think about it. If Kevin Durant doesn't go to Golden State, this Cavs team is probably the favorite to win this championship. Now that the bars got risen, it's like, what do you do? Nobody
not a lot they can do.
Nobody saw this coming. And now the whole league is in a frenzy. It's like, do we rebuild? Do we add players to get better? And now the
But Paul, other teams found a way. It's like, you're right. Maybe it's a long shot. They're not going to add the equivalent of Kevin Durant.
Right.
But when you don't have anybody proven in the seat that's driving this bus to do whatever it is you could do, or at least leave no stone unturned. Like when you hear reports that they were working on the Jimmy Butler trade, or so close, I think Woj said this, they were so close on Paul George, they were going to put Paul George on the phone with Dan Gilbert. And so if you're LeBron and you're hearing that, you're like, I don't care what we couldn't do, we didn't try hard enough.
Yeah, if I'm LeBron, I'm definitely frustrated. You know, you got to understand, LeBron has 2 or 3 more great years left. And then he's going to probably have to defer to a younger superstar. But while this window's still open, you have to do something about it. You have to do something with LeBron to make his team better, to give them another opportunity to win. You don't get a LeBron James ever.
He's a transcendent player. Yeah.
You don't get this type of player in a lifetime. So you have to take advantage of it.
Before we let you go, can we take advantage of one thing real quick? Earlier in the show, Blake Griffin got reintroduced today. They had the press conference for him signing his contract. So no CP3. JJ Redick said he turned down, less money or more money in Houston to go to Philadelphia. New look team, right? She says they're irrelevant now. You're an LA guy, number one, obviously finished up with the Clippers. Would you go so far as to call the Clippers irrelevant now?
Not irrelevant. I mean, you still have 2 All-Stars. You got DJ and you got Blake Griffin. They're going to take a step back because you lose a great point guard in CP3, but there is a lot more excitement around the Lakers.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
I mean, but the Lakers have always been the LA's team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's
they had a window. That's why it's very disappointing that they weren't able to produce more when they had CP3 and Blake. And
so they're 15 minutes up?
I'm just saying they are. It's up.
They got 30 seconds left.
They got to see. He basically agrees with me. He was just trying to be nice to you. All right, next time, cards, okay?
All right, let's do it.
But no Rondo.
Cubs called a break. Chris Bryant, when he was sliding in the first inning, sprained his left pinky. X-rays were negative. He's day-to-day. Aren't we all? One of our former colleagues said that all the time, right?
It's Damian Woody who says that.
No. That was either Dan Patrick or Keith Olbermann, one of them. Anyway, Cubs went on to win their 6th straight. They're unbeaten since the break, and they are now 2 back of the Brewers. That sliding in the head first, has been a pretty rough go of it for Stars lately.
Hey, Animal.
Oh, hey, Justin Turner.
A lot of the guys say me and you look exactly alike.
Look alike? Us?
That's what they say.
Me no see it.
Me either.
All-star Justin Turner has had an incredible career turnaround since signing a minor league deal with the Dodgers in the spring of 2014. Since then, his 17.2 wins above replacement ranks 2nd on the team, trailing only some guy named Clayton Kershaw. And with that, we welcome in Animals twin, Justin Turner. Justin, you are just killing it this season, batting .370, by far the highest average in Major League Baseball. What have you been doing different? What light bulb has gone off for you this season?
I think kind of trying to do the same stuff that I've been doing the last few years, and that's just being able to repeat my swing and trying to take a quality at bat every time, not worry about the results so much. And this year I've just hit a few more balls that are finding holes where last year I probably lined out a few more times. So results are definitely better, but we still got a long way to go, and there's still a lot of work ahead of me.
Not only is everything working for you, it's working for your team. 30-4 over your last 34. Do you know that the Dodgers are the first team to win 30 games in a 34-game span since the 1977 Royals? When you hear that, what do you think?
I think it's pretty cool. We got a great group of guys, a lot of talent over here, and just have to tip our cap to the front office for everything they've done, all the roster depth they've created. And it seems like anytime something happens and someone gets called up, we don't miss a beat. They step right in and have a huge impact on this team. And the pitching's been great all year. Bullpen's been outstanding again this year, just like they were last year. And I think if you look at the lineup, 1 through 8, doesn't matter who it is, we're getting production up and down from the top and bottom. And when you have a different guy playing a hero every single night, it's a good recipe to win a lot of games.
And I imagine it was a lot of fun for you being an all-star for the first time. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was a whirlwind. The whole week leading up to it, with the whole final vote thing, getting voted in, was overwhelming, and can't believe the amount of support I got from Dodger fans all over the world. and also the Kansas City Royal fans who we teamed up with to help get Moose in as well. And then when you get there and you're surrounded by the best players in the world, you just kind of look around and you're in awe. So it was definitely something special, something I'll never forget. And even though it was a final vote to get in there, it's something that I didn't take for granted and will be special to me for the rest of my life.
Saw a headline today, Justin. I think it was in the Washington Post that you guys, the Dodgers, are becoming the Golden State Warriors of Major League Baseball. What do you think about that comparison? Do you feel something special in the works here?
I definitely think we have a special team. I don't know if I would quite compare us to the Warriors. We haven't accomplished anything yet other than, getting to the playoffs the last 4 years. But, definitely have a special group here, a lot of talent. I think don't know if anything's going to happen at the deadline or anything, if they have any plans for that. But even if nothing does happen, we like our club. We like where we're at. Obviously, we're playing good baseball. And, the Warriors, man, that's a tough comparison right now.
Well, you guys do have
hopefully in 3 years you're making the same comparison.
Yeah, right.
Right. Well, you guys do have a 10.5 game lead, so
winning streak.
I would say domination is kind of in your forte right now. But thank you.
Beard's dominating.
Yes, that beard is definitely dominating. But anyway, thank you so much, Justin, for joining us, and good luck the rest of the season. Let's keep it classy, Mike. I prefer to call it sports debate porn. ESPN's Mike Sando, though, he polled 10 Super Bowl winning coaches and executives for their best quarterbacks of the modern era. Panelists included
There's my guy.
Tony Dungy, Pete Carroll, and Wade Phillips, among others. As you see the names, Dan Marino, Aaron Rodgers.
Young was the baddest dude I ever seen for like
John
a few years.
Elway, Joe Montana.
No surprise here.
Peyton Manning.
Like in boxing, Brady united the belt. One game to win, start a team with. Toughest to defend is all Tom Brady.
Tony Dungy had him listed 6, by the way.
Fired after a 1-5 start to the 2012 season and a 6-10 2011. Marty Herney is back at Panthers GM following the firing of Dave Gettleman, coming off the 6-10 mark last year. Interim GM, that is. But it sounds like Herney, introduced today, is a familiar old face with a new approach.
I think the biggest thing, and it's a general thing, but making sure the analytical part of my brain takes over the emotional part of my brain. When I look back, and I look back at some of the mistakes, it might have been that loyalty, the emotional part of my brain. And that's when I've got in trouble in my life. I have a big mouth sometimes. When the emotional part of my brain takes over, then that's not good a lot of times. So I think the analytical part has to be there.
So explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
So Gettleman, too cold and calculating, impersonal, hard-line stance, cleaned up the cap mess. In comes Marty Herney to be
cold-blooded.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to you either, huh?
No, not a lot. And I, like a lot of people, I'm still scratching my head over why they decided to do it. Probably because of the timing has a lot to do with it. And then to go back to somebody, it's kind of like a relationship when you break up with someone. And you go back, and then once you're there,
old thing back, like
and then once you're in the relationship, you realize, so all the reasons we broke up before, they still exist.
Yeah, but what if they got their stuff together?
Different.
What if the things that you loved about them are still there and they improved? Like Marty Herney stayed around the team, did the radio thing. Maybe he has learned from his mistakes. So while there's a familiarity in terms of, look, he did a lot of good things while he was there. Too. People say, Gettleman cleaned up his cap mess.
To a Super Bowl,
drafted a lot of the core, right? Hired Ron Rivera. So there's a good working relationship there. You've seen a lot of coaches and executives the second time around be better having learned from their mistakes and having taken a step away from the game. So this could still work out well, but it's just interesting to hear him say that he's going to apply the very principles that the last guy did, and he went a little too far apparently for their liking, and now he's out of a gig despite his bottom line.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we'll find out in coming days as these things are maybe the real reason.
I bet you J.J. Watt asked for this jersey. He was like, "Give me an extra medium."
That's a medium. I can see his heart beating. Come on, JJ.
That young. That's what he's called. And that's young.
Check out Snoop calling a UFC fight.
Aside, this
O'Malley combination. 3-piece dinner with biscuits. O'Malley! O'Malley! O'Malley!
Oh yeah!
O'Malley! 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 Give that kid a contract!
I pictured Dana White gave O'Malley a UFC contract after the KO, and he smoked with Snoop. Want to smoke with the old boy, Rick James? We just saw Snoop at the ESPYs.
We did.
Wants to do a spoof with us.
Yes, he does.
As everybody does. Not going to tell you what it is, but you can probably guess.
I want to be on this show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not
smoking. Not smoking. Not smoking. No.
Make that clear.
NFL coaches can now be ejected after receiving 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties for abusive language. How many ejections are we going to see?
Bill might get tossed. The first one Bill might get. Bill stays in the officials. Like T too. Like this will be interesting.
It will. I'm sure the players probably love this. They like that the tables are turned a little bit because after some incidents there was more scrutiny on their language.
You know what? This happens in baseball and that's all the time. I think they're going to have a real slow, long leash with their coaches. They don't want to kick coaches out the game. Lions, they no longer want to celebrate making the playoffs as wild cards.
Because it doesn't happen that often.
Team president Rod Wood revealed that the team will no longer be hanging their playoff banners at Ford Field. A constant reminder of their one playoff victory since 1957. The division championships and the old NFL championships stay. Why you got to slander your hometown team? I know that's not your squad.
It's not.
But you put on for the D like up here and you slander the Lions. Like it's just extreme for me.
Because it's so easy. They just been so bad. Like why you hanging playoff banners? Really? That's why they won't be great. That's why. Kevin Bradley, the sportsbook manager of Bovada, said he expects the Mayweather-McGregor fight to, get this, attract more bets than the Super Bowl. He also said an early round KO by McGregor would be a disaster for Vegas.
Disaster for Vegas, disaster for Floyd.
Well, of course, but I have about 4 or 5 friends who all told me they plan to put money on McGregor because they're treating this like almost like a lottery ticket. I know I probably have no chance.
That long at this point?
Yeah, I mean they're really. If you're gonna do this, like it's no upside in putting it on Floyd. He's expected to win this fight, so you go with the longer odds, which is McGregor. So a lot of people will be having their money taken. In other words,
Jaguars defensive end Dante Fowler Jr. we got the mugshot. Damn. Arrested in St. Petersburg last night on charges of simple battery after getting out of his car to confront and strike a man. Stomped on his prescription glasses. Took the man's grocery bag, which included liquor, and tossed it in a lake.
That's the worst of it.
You throw away wasted good liquor? I knew your mind was going to go there.
You don't do that.
Anyway, no, you know the worst part about it is, according to the reports, Fowler confronted him after it was like a road rage type incident. He criticized his driving. With the way these road rage incidents have ended in recent years, man, you can't get out your car no matter how much somebody might get on your nerves, man. You get out your car, it can end badly.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully he's learned his lesson. Speaking of on the come up, Mitchell Trubisky finally signed his deal with the Bears. Money-making Mitch, just in time for rookies to report for camp today.
Is that a paid in for?
It is. Way to pick up on that. We should get used to him holding a pen, since apparently he'll be holding a clipboard all season. Mike Glennon expected to be the starter all year. Now, I'm old enough, Mike, to remember when rookie quarterbacks waited behind experienced starters, but this is Mike Glennon. So, do you think Trubisky starts some games this year?
He shouldn't. I mean, his issue coming out was that he was green, didn't have a whole lot of experience starting in college. He should not see the field no matter what. You sign Mike Glennon, let him keep his spot warm. Carson Palmer, Phillip Rivers, a lot of guys have sat and turned out just great. Bryce Harper sitting tonight after he and Mike Trout both homered in the first inning last night. Of course, the Nats got the last laugh. Washington beat the Angels behind a 4-for-4 night from Harper at the plate, so he was so hot. So he's like, you know what, I need a rest. The Nats have won 5 straight. Can these two stars be connected without being compared? Because there is no comparison.
There is none.
Can they be connected, though?
And I didn't realize it was that long since they faced each other, too.
Yeah, Yankees doing work acquiring bullpen help along with Todd Frazier, who I think, what did he do? He go 0 for 1, got hit by a pitch today. He's okay. Upgraded third base, upgraded the bullpen. But what I like about it is the White Sox, we keep talking about them upgrading their farm system. Now I got 10 of the top 100 prospects in baseball, calling up Yoan Moncada. It's all good on the south side.
Their rebuild has been kind of one of those underplayed stories.
Saying they trust in the process.
The Suns have added 14-year NBA veteran, friend of LeBron James, James Jones.
Don't start.
What? To their front office as vice president of basketball operations.
Smart guy.
7 finals with LeBron. LeBron to Phoenix. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it.
Moving right along.
No, but great for James Jones.
Who wants to sell Mutombo? Who wants to sell to Mutombo? I don't know. He told Fox 26 Sports in Houston that he was trying to put together a group to buy the Rockets. He played 5 of his final 18 NBA seasons with the Rockets. I would love to see this
as well.
Humanitarian philanthropist. All-around great guy. Speaking of all-around great guys, before we call it a day, it would have been the 52nd birthday of our dearly departed colleague, Stuart Scott, who we try to honor on this show every single day. We know he's looking down at us, smiling, proud for us. He paved the way for us to do this. Shout out to his daughters, his family.
Taylor and Sydney, yes.
Taylor and Sydney, Kristen, everybody, his loved ones. And in his honor, we're going to do what he loved to do with his daughters, eat ice cream on the way out.
Oops for Stu, that's the hashtag.
All right, Cardinals and Mets is next. We love you, Stu.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors. And shades.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.